Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight. Quarterlight, if you don't know, is a YouTube channel looking at car brochures from around the world. And today is the turn of the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Okay, so the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus didn't arrive until April 1979 when it was unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show. However, the road-going version didn't come out till later that year. In fact, it was after the rebranding from Chrysler to Talbot. But if you want to know more about the story of how the Chrysler Sunbeam became the Talbot Sunbeam, there is a little video on that, so I will put a little bit of a link up there for you. The brochure we're going to look at is actually from October 1979, so it is one of the early ones. So let's have a look at that now. So here we go, the brochure for the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. So how did this car come about? Well, it was really Chrysler going up to Lotus and commissioning them to produce an effective entrant for the Group 4 Rally Series. Basically a car to beat the then dominant and extremely successful RS Escort. But of course this is the road-going vehicle. This is a vehicle you could go to the dealership and buy. So let's open this brochure up and see what we can see. So as we open it up, we can see it's just like a fold-out style brochure, if you will, and showing the details. And we'll fold this brochure out and we'll have a look at all the different parts on it. You'll notice this is an early brochure by the fact it's only showing one colour, this black and silver. Later on you could get a moonstone blue and a silver, and I think they even did a moonstone blue and black. But at this stage, the early ones, this was the only colour you could actually get it in. And you can see on there basically what it was in general. It was a standard Talbot Sunbeam 1.6 GLS that they modified really into this vehicle. One thing I do find very surprising about the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus is it's quite understated compared to the other sporting and less powered Talbot Sunbeam, the TI. So if I show you a standard Talbot brochure and show you the TI version, you know, it's got little wings on there, and I think it looks a lot more in your face. You got these little TI badges, whereas if this wasn't two-tone, it wouldn't really stand out. There's no little wings on there. But let me know what you think. Does this look more striking to you? It's almost like they got the two mixed up, but there we go. This was the less powerful version, and this was the full-on Lotus. And like I say, if it wasn't two-tone, I don't think you would notice it as much as the Sunbeam TI. So it was an interesting little story how this came about, really. Like I say, it's just a normal Talbot Sunbeam 1.6 GLS, and that's how it started its life in Linwood. And basically then they fitted stiffer springs and damping, tougher gearbox casings, etc. And then they shipped it over to Lotus in Norfolk. I think it was Norfolk. And then there at Lotus they fitted the engines and the ZR gearbox onto it. Then off it went to Stoke for the final pre-sales check to make sure everything was okay. So it was not really a very fluid way of doing these things, but there we go. That's how the car came about, I guess. So it had, rather than this 1.6 GLS, it now had this 2.2 litre engine that Lotus had developed specially for Talbot. It did 0 to 60 in 7.8 seconds with a top speed of 122. And like I said, there was also a rally version for it as well, and this is the reason why we got a road version. And the rally version was hugely successful. If you look at 1980s, and I think it was Toivonen, he won the 29th Lombard Rally. And then in 1981, Talbot took the whole Manufacturers' Championship. So it was a huge success. And really was, when you think about rally cars, you really think about those rear-wheel drive Escorts and how successful they were until, of course, the Audi Quattro four-wheel drives around. You kind of like forget that this little car with its rear-wheel drive set-off was also an extremely successful rally car. But if we open the brochure still further, and yes, extremely plain seats. I did, you know how we looked at that TI before? TI seats, these sporty seats, quite plain seats in comparison. Just a point. So if we open the brochure even further, we get more sort of images of this Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Like I say, always badged Talbot. It was after the change from Chrysler, but we do have this nice little Lotus badge on there, and these interesting wheels as well. But like I say, this really extra page is just showing you these fancy sort of images of the car. And yes, like the GLS, we did get a rear wiper on it, if I'm just about making out. Maybe I should move it that way, but we do get a rear wiper on like we did on the GLS. The low models didn't get a rear wiper, although again it was a wiper that wiped downwards, so as soon as it went to the park position all the water ran down, so it wasn't the more successful. And of course we still got that little one glass panel, so we've got a huge lip. Not hugely practical, although we do also have split folding seats, I do believe, on this model as well. But as we close the brochure back up again, we do get some specifications. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in on this page to look at this a little bit better. So there we go. I've tried to zoom in the best I can, but the writing's very small, and there's a few little marks on the brochure. But we kind of have to figure it is from 1979. But if you want to freeze the screen, of course, you should be able to read that in your own time if you want to, but I'll just briefly go over it. So the engine's a 4-cylinder, 2.2 litre Lotus engine, specially developed for Talbot, featuring a 5-bearing crankshaft unit and extensive use of aluminium alloy castings, including cylinder head and block. Twin overhead camshafts, 16 valves, that twin choke carburetors, and a pre-engaged starter motor. And then it goes on, telling about the ignition, the cooling, the clutch, the gearbox, which is a 5-speed all synchromesh on forward gears, and a centre floor change lever. I think that's the ZR gearbox it's referring to there. And then it goes on about the front and rear suspension, which has been developed, steering brakes, etc. Remember, this car started off as just the standard 1.6 GLS, and like I said, those improvements were made not down the production line, but by sending it to Lotus and then coming back to Stoke for the delivery and inspection. It was that very strange and not really cost efficient way of doing it, but there we go. So he's talking about the standard equipment, and it has got equipment on here like a GLS basically, so the equipment, it should be equivalent to that GLS model. And as we pan back out again, we can once again have a nice look at the car itself, and then lower down it's telling us that it's October 1979, and if you notice on the right hand side, that Talbot branding, it's now changed from Chrysler to Talbot, as all of these Talbot Sunbeam Lotuses were, because they came out after that rebrand. So there we go, that is the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. And away, this car that started off with this very old-fashioned Hillman Avenger platform with its rear-wheel drive setup actually helped in this case, really. It made a much more fun car once they put that larger engine in there, and of course it was extremely successful in the Rally Championship, which was why it was developed in the first place. But thank you once again for watching Quarterlight. There'll be many more car brochure reviews in the near future. But for now, we'll say take care and goodbye.